Ye weary good people of Patriots Nation, the Foxborough faithful, take heart, because there are actually now more people on this podcast than there are days until the NFL draft. Oh, sweet sassy Molassy. I think the ultimate decision we have been waiting a full half year is upon us, and we promise this won't be the final Six Rings and Football Things podcast before the draft. I've been told that there's still one more of those to come tomorrow on One Off Wednesday. However, we promise this is our final pre-draft mock draft edition of the Six Rings and Football Things podcast. Coming at you today, your old pals, Nick Fitzy Stevens. You got the great Mike Cadlick, Pickle Pizza Party himself over there. And of course, the maniac, hashtag Take Drake leader movement, Andy Jumbo Hart in the house for today's edition. We are launching straight from Mike Cadlick posting his final mock draft at weei.com. That will be our launch point today for the first half of the pod, and then the back half we'll get to some Pat's Paris, some other swirling thoughts, rumors, and more. We've got Rossini's, we've got Scouteds, we've got Schefters, we've got so many people to reference here today. So, Mike, why don't you kick things off? Walk us hand in hand down the lane of your final mock draft and how you got to what seems like a pretty obvious choice early on, but then some bold trade-oriented moves as the mock progresses.
Yeah, round one, pick 3, nice and easy. And we said it before we started recording. We've been here since December. We've jumped through the hoops, the combines, the pro days, the meetings, the rumors. It's Drake Maye. It's always been Drake Maye. It always will be Drake Maye. He's going to come here. He's going to be their 3rd overall pick. It just makes too much sense. I think that with all of the smoke and mirrors around Washington, and if they'll take Daniels, and if Daniels doesn't want to be there and all that nonsense, like, it makes more sense for him to go to Washington, and it makes more sense for Drake Maye to be here. So that's where we're rolling here. I think he fits what Alex Van Pelt wants to do on offense. The one thing I will say on the Drake Maye pick is that Alex Van Pelt's offense is very footwork oriented. Mm-hmm. Drake Maye right now isn't very footwork oriented.
So the criticisms have been levied by one in a many of the Kurt Benkerts, the Orlovskis, and even I believe was it Merrill Hodge who was critical of the footwork as well.
Oh, Merrill Hodge hates.
What did
Drake Maye. I think
Andy?
Merrill
What did Drake Maye do to Merrill Hodge? Did he not drive his daughter home from the prom? Did he what the hell happened there?
Yeah, I think all these guys have gotten to the point where they just do it on purpose. Much like people like Mike swap things out in their mock drafts a few times to kind of make them readable, get attention, get clicks. And I'm not questioning it. I think you should do that.
Right.
I think these guys realized over the years that if you take a hard stance that is counter to the commonly held thought and you're right, it can be something you live off of for 3 years, 5 years. And if you're wrong, it just kind of goes away and it fades into the ether. And I think they're choosing that to stay relevant, to stay, get radio stations and podcasts to call them and continue to. We all know it's a tough media market. There's a lot of people out there and fewer jobs by the day, literally. So I think it's intentional. I really do. And just to get to the footwork thing, 2 things here.
Yeah.
Alex Van Pelt's job is to coach, correct?
I mostly think I truly believe when we were all stunned, like, wait a second, they hired an offensive coordinator? Alex Van Pelt, the guy that that old Buffalo quarterback? I had no idea. I truly believe he's almost here not even to be the offensive coordinator. I mean, I know that's his title. I honestly think he's here to just groom whatever quarterback they choose.
So therefore, the footwork issues don't bother me. Because, I mean, I don't think Drake Maye is like a 2 left feet, 12 toes moron. I feel like he's a pretty good athlete who, if the right coach tells him what to do and refines it, and oh, by the way, there's no longer any limitations on how much time you're investing in this. You become a full-time quarterback the second you are drafted to the National Football League. No more classes, no more NCAA hourly limitations. Get your ass in there and figure out the footwork. My second thing here is, and I'm going to rant from a column I wrote earlier this week on weei.com.
I was going to mention
I hate to call the Albert Breer, Peter King thing and be like, as I wrote earlier in the week on the website I work for, this stupid idea that they can take Drake Maye because they have some sort of a stable bridge in Jacoby Brissett. I'm going to say this as kindly as I can. Jacoby Brissett blows. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's not a starter.
That wasn't very kind.
I could say it was swears and more meanly, but he's a great professional, great teammate, great worker. And I agree wholly with the first part of Elliot Wolf's answer, where he said, Jacoby Brissett is going to support the quarterback we might draft, ... Oh, and compete with him. The and compete part is an afterthought. He is not this, as I wrote in the column, this is not the Chiefs with Alex Smith, where you have a Pro Bowl effing quarterback so you can bring in a guy and let him sit for a year, 2 years. No one wants to see Jacoby Brissett play. No one benefits from Jacoby Brissett playing. Drake Maye, if he's the guy, should play, because I use the examples of Josh Allen, as raw can be. Other than Trey Lance, maybe the rawest of quarterbacks to come into the National Football League in the last, 5 years, 10 years, whatever.
Yeah, what was he coming? Didn't he come in with like a 52 or 56% completion percentage? Like he was
Go
wild.
watch his lowlights. His lowlights look like a guy that should never play the quarterback position at any level, whether it's Wyoming or Buffalo. And by week 2, he was starting and he never looked back. Like, that's just the reality. And guess what? He evolved, he developed, he grew, he learned, he made mistakes, over the back throws in playoff games, things of that nature. And now he rolls out of bed and he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the national. You know why? He's athletically special. He's a hard worker. He's gifted in terms of competitive nature and all of that. And if you don't think Drake Maye, if you think Drake Maye is breakable, then don't draft Drake Maye. Because if he's breakable, he's not a true franchise QB. He's not the guy.
And that leads exactly into the next question I wanted to ask you guys. And I think this has sort of been overlooked a little bit in the 10,000 different discussions we have had here. You've probably had on TV there. I got the mention in by 7 minutes, Andy. You're welcome. On my socials, on the Rich Keefe Show, wherever we've been, when Cadlick talks
Waiting
with
for
Barth
pizza.
and does other, literally
waiting for
waiting for pizza in line. Exactly. Yeah. Hanging out, having too many beers with Fitzy in the garage, wherever, however, any which way. The one thing that they keep talking about, that I keep hearing analysts and football fans talk about, that is the ultimate allure to JJ McCarthy, is the fact that the kid is a winner. The fact that he's got the intent, they believe that he has the savage instinct, that he's got a little bit of a psycho killer. Whoa, don't do that. Again, if you're not watching on YouTube and you just turned a W into FU Fitzy. It's not me. Maybe that was more on general.
I don't think we're allowed to put, we might not even be allowed to put it on
Jeez,
YouTube.
now we have to hire effects artist or an AI to blur that out. Jeez. God, why are you always making work for me? Anyway, so that's the big thing about JJ McCarthy, is they believe that he has the it factor, that he's an ultimate competitor, that winning matters that much to him. So I like Drake Maye's response to the Kevin Clark question on the This Is Football podcast about, he didn't mind going to the Top Golf with everybody. He actually loved hanging out with JJ McCarthy and Jaden Daniels, whereas Jaden Daniels was off put by that, which gives me those diva vibes that make me think, I don't know if he could be a star, but he could also be a pain in the ass. It's fine. Hey, whatever. If you throw more touchdowns than interceptions, you win football games. I don't care. Just make football fun again in Foxborough. But do we think Drake Maye, is he going to hang his head after the win? Is he going to have that psycho Brady look on the sideline? Or is he just, in it for a good time and he's just going to go out and, crush some hard seltzers and listen to Hootie after the game, no matter what happens?
Well, he does kind of seem like a, fun Southern goofball who is like, win or lose, we still boo.
Definitely has.
Vibes,
I think he's got charisma and charm to spare for sure. But does he care? Does he care that much?
I mean, I think so. I don't get the vibe that he doesn't care. I just think that I got to get the vibe that he has, like, the memory of a goldfish, where like good or bad, straight focus, move forward. I'm fine. I'm confident in myself. I can play football any which way. And I kind of see that in Josh Allen too. Like, does Josh Allen really, have the fire that Brady ever did? No, not really. But he's still a very good quarterback who's, like you said, Andy, a freak athlete. And I almost like that attitude better than like what we talked about with Jaden Daniels, where like, I'm better than you. I don't like the Top Golf thing because this is supposed to be my franchise, blah, blah, blah. And Drake Maye is just like, yeah, take it and run, roll with the punches. I'm going to go wherever I want to go, and I'm going to try and win football games because I'm really good at playing football.
Yeah, all this stuff is warranted, this type of discussion, because we always talk about like checking all the boxes, and the closer you get to number one, you got to check pretty much all the boxes because you're making a franchise altering, potentially, I keep throwing this out there. By the time these guys that you hope to sign to a second contract get to said contract, you're making more than a $500 million decision, right? Like we're getting in that world, and that's how you should treat it, how important you should treat it. For, Robert Kraft, everybody's like, oh, his franchise is worth $7-8 billion. Yeah, well, this is a pretty big decision, even for a guy that has $8 billion, or Jonathan, who we'll get into later. So but all of this too is so, it's more inexact than the inexact science of the draft, I guess I would put it, right? Like it's just, nobody knows how people deal with change and adversity and money and success and highs and like, the comparison, the wins, all he does is win. I saw the thing today making the rounds, like high school win, high school win, high school win, pro win, college win.
What is he, like 61-3 or something from high school through college? Like
just like Trevor Lawrence was 84-4 or whatever, and now is like,
and he was 20-30 in the pros.
Right. So, and he's fine.
Mac Jones has a better record.
Just saying. And a burgeoning rap career.
Burgeoning.
Festering, perhaps.
Dying.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is all, but it's all, you have to trust the vibe of your coaches. That's why I thought it was interesting, Elliot Wolf talking about in the building and interacting with people, and like that's part of it. Now, you could misread that, right? Like there's a fine line between, motivated and maniacal a-hole and, wound too tight. How many times do we talk about that early on in Mac Jones's career? He wound too tight. And by all appearances now,
when Belichick had to like literally walk him off the field because he was going to like,
and I think we now know
rip his hair
he was
out.
probably wound too tight.
And so the circumstances, that the extenuating circumstances and bad decisions that were made of not giving him a good line, not giving him a wide receiver one, ultimately giving him a defensive coordinator. Yeah, it did. It broke him. It 100%
right. You tightened it and you tightened it and you tightened it, and all of a sudden something's got to give, and it was him and his mentality and his heart and his focus and all of those things. So is Drake Maye a question? Yep. Is JJ McCarthy? Absolutely. Is anyone more safer than the other? Not in my opinion, having not hung out with either of them. And that's always my caveat. I would love to have had the opportunity to play 6 hours of Top Golf and have some beers and see how they are sober, see how they are a little liquored up, see how they are, with teammates, see how they are in the corner. Is he pointing at the other guy and be like, look at this tool over here? Like, you get a read off. We don't have that. So we just have to take the superficial stance. They're all huge risks, all massive risks.
It almost does make you wonder, and I agree that when the Patriots, and I think it's going to be Drake Maye at 3 as well, and I'll get to the other guy that has sort of like bubbled to the top or near the top in the last week to week and a half or so in a minute, and why he has displayed some of the things or the unquantifiables that I believe teams have questioned about him that would make me like, and as seems to have made a lot of other football fans like him more in recent day as well. But with Drake Maye, you are investing in the raw prospect. He's got it 230 something bills, 6'4", can throw the football over their mountains. Like he's got it all. So if he comes to the right set of circumstances and they take the time to groom him properly, and hell, yes, he does beat out Jacoby Brissett. Two things can be true at once. You can still play him so he gets valuable experience in the now, but also be constantly working with him so that you can hopefully get to that second half of Josh Allen's year 2 jump. Remember, he was terrible the first 3 times he played the Patriots. Terrible. But then by that final game in 2019 where the Pats won on a Saturday 24-17, Josh Allen was good. Josh Allen finally got there. Like he saw through the matrix all that time that Dayball spent with him, and hopefully Van Pelt will be the Dayball for Drake Maye, will ultimately round him into a quality quarterback. And it does make me wonder.
Well, that's too. Can I push back and give a little, like a say? Yeah, there's Andy with a little head tilt. Just give another angle.
Cadlick with pushback?
Well, to the Jacoby Brissett stuff, right? Like, is he a great quarterback on the field? No, he's not. No, he's not. As Andy said, he blows. But
plus level backup?
Does having him on the roster make you more inclined to draft Drake Maye? Also, no. You're going to bring him in anyway. But is having him on the roster a benefit to Drake Maye when he gets here?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even I agree with that. So because he's the perfect guy. I don't think he's, I had this discussion with somebody where when they were thinking of the veterans to bring in, they swiftly eliminated a lot of people because they believed those people still see themselves as starters and truly competing. And I don't think Jacoby Brissett is doing that. I think he's still competing because you're always going to be but I think he's also understanding of who he is, where he is, what he is, And yes, I do not think he'll be undercutting Drake Maye's development or trying to question.
I think he's perfect for Drake Maye's development.
Absolutely.
I think he's seen it all. He's seen the highs
Correct.
with a Tom Brady Super Bowl team. He's seen the lows with a Deshaun
It's
Watson.
year
Webb
9
Browns
coming
team.
in for him as
Yep.
coming in as well.
Right.
And Andy, you've said before when we first heard about Brissett being signed, and we all speculated, like, coming from Cleveland, this is a no-brainer, experience with Van Pelt, that just in terms of having a mentor, a gentleman, a winner, something like all of his intangibles and human unquantifiables are off the charts for a good locker room, a first-year coach who needs to get everyone on the same page, a disciplined team. Now, of course, we have Matthew Slater as Mayo's right-hand man. So I think this team is going to be well-behaved, likable. They're going to put their best foot forward, tons of effort, like a bunch of guys. But
and I also think bridge quarterback, has kind of like frankly, like there's kind of a stupid negative connotation on it, because like you think that he's there to try and win you some games, where we don't need to win games. We just need you to literally be the bridge from all the old bad stuff last season to the eventual coming of Drake.
And hopefully
May,
that bridge,
you don't need to
that bridge is not in Baltimore and is still standing.
Oh, we're making bridge.
Oh, come on, please.
Now who has made us edit that, drop that, cut that?
Yeah, seriously.
Jesus.
Jeez,
That's fine. That's nothing. Nothing's too soon. Don't worry about it. See,
it's you can do anything on a podcast. I think legally anything is allowed on a
anything's
podcast.
allowed. It's fine. It's totally. This is the Wild West still of the broadcast medium. I did want to get to real quick. Yesterday, that would be Monday, of course, 3 days before the draft. As we record this 2 days prior to the draft, it's just a little over 2 days until NFL draft time, and we see the commissioner take the stage in front of a rumored and reported 300,000 expected attendees for the draft in Detroit. This is going to be big. We are talking rolling out of
people.
The Henry Ford automobile. Big. People love it.
Going to hang out with Gresham Fauria.
Exactly.
Like, I have no interest in that. Like,
it's super fun. It is super fun. It's having been to a ton, just because you're out in public, you're in the free open air, you're hanging out with football fans, you get to see it live and in person. There's food and drink. It's really like a giant sponsored tailgate. Like, you can't actually pull up your rig and put on your music and do a proper tailgate, of which there'll probably be tens of thousands this coming Saturday at Gillette for the Messi game, and then more in June for Tom Brady Day. But it is a lot of fun, Andy. It's sort of one of those things you'd go to. It's the Burning Man of football, just a little more controlled and stylized. But
I will say I did enjoy, and I don't generally enjoy a lot that Roger Goodell does. His commercial with Eminem made me laugh out loud. That was a funny commercial.
Pretty good.
That was well done by the writers, them, and even Eminem delivered it like he wasn't high or effed up over years usage of drugs. So. Well done.
Oh, good. So Eminem just passed Andy's drug test for the commercial.
The eyeball test. I'm not saying he was not on something. I'm just saying eyeball test.
Oh, come! What are you talking about? Well, geez, Louise, what is Eminem? When has he ever been like a report? For God's sakes, I'm not going to defend one of the finest exports of Detroit and/or his demeanor. Eminem is an outstanding, upright citizen who produces quality music and is representing for the city of Detroit. I personally fell in love with him all over again when he was in San Francisco back in January for the NFC Championship. And from his luxury box, he gave the double birds to all the 49ers.
I thought we couldn't do that.
Now we're doing
fine.
double birds,
You already set the prep. I learned it from you, Dad.
Jesus. Clean it up.
So on Monday, Michael Penix Jr., who has been, I won't say mocked, but at least he has been rumored to be of potential backup interest, as in, and we'll get to the tweets in a moment. There was the Diana Rossini tweet on Monday. The New England Patriots are listening and taking calls from teams looking to move into number 3. While Elliot Rolfe was running point, I'm told Patriots president Jonathan Kraft is heavily involved in the decision-making. We'll break that down in just a second and what that could mean for everybody out there. But then following that up was a tweet from @ScoutedNFL, SCOUTD NFL. Now you might say, like, why do I care about somebody who has 9,500 followers? Doesn't follow anybody. And Schefter follows @ScoutedNFL. Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
So he tweets out, whoever's burner this is, report. If Drake Maye is available at 3, we could see chaos on Thursday. The Patriots have received, quote, shocking Bryce type offers. I'll contextualize. That would be Bryce Young offers for last year when the Bears and the Panthers traded. Bryce type offers for the pick, per source. The Vikings and Giants are willing to sell the farm. This is contingent on pick 2. A tough decision for New England? ? So this means that the Patriots may be getting the Godfather offer. They could be getting the mother of all offers from either the Vikings or the Giants for Drake Maye. It makes sense. Dayball sees his next Josh Allen. The Vikings with the Josh McCown connection to Drake Maye as well. Scouted did follow that up later on by also saying he couldn't believe, whoever it is, couldn't believe the size of the offer that they had heard per a reputable source. Now, if the Patriots do get that offer, and if they were to trade back, do we A, think that they would actually select Michael Penix in the first round, be it in the middle of the round, later in the round? And B, do you think that this would be palatable? Because he wrote Monday in the Players Tribune, I hear it all the time. He's been injured. What happens if he gets injured? This is Penix's piece he wrote. Haven't I shown you what it looks like? Haven't I put almost 2,000 plays on tape since my last injury? Since my, quote, fourth season-ending injury in 4 years, it's constantly mentioned whenever my name is brought up. Truth is, I'd be more worried if I had never been injured. We don't all come back the same. I can't speak for those that have never gone through anything, but I can speak on me. I've seen how deep my foundation is. I know the storms I'm prepared to weather. For most people, that would be the end of their story, but there's more to my story, and I own every page of it. Dude, I don't know if he hired a ghostwriter or who he was working with, but like that's the kind of thing that if I'm a GM and I'm wondering if I go to my fallback quarterback in the first round because someone just gave me 4 first-round picks, I don't know. Just saying. Boys.
So this sort of flies in the face of everything I've heard, that they haven't gotten any really good offers. Words like laughable have been thrown out there. So this is interesting. Somebody's lying or somebody's making stuff up at this time of year in the silly season. I do believe they are open to trade, and I do believe they've been honest that if they get the bag, they may take the bag and run with it. Yes, I am a maniac. Yes, I want them to stick and pick at 3 because I think that's all that really matters is that quarterback position and nailing that pick. But, you know, the old caveat that everybody, if you're not sold on the guy at 3, listen to the offers. See if you can take advantage of your opportunity. Don't just stick and pick if you don't feel it, if it's not the right move. But let's play along and say that, you know, everything, you know, this source on some guy, whoever the hell this is right. And they are getting 4 first-round picks or my dream deal of 3 first-round picks and a left tackle or a wide receiver or some player. To me, then J.J. McCarthy becomes the next guy in line. I don't think Penix is the next guy in line. It's funny, you use the word backup plan, Fitzy. I agree completely. He's an NFL backup. I think that was an apt description of him. And not because of the injuries. I love his heart and like this fire, and you're right, he handled that nicely. But I just think there are some limitations in his game. And I've seen a little bit more of this that's always bothered me. You know, kind of he throws the fastball and then you tell him to throw a changeup and he shakes you off and he throws the fastball.
Throws another fast. Yeah, I know, because that arm can sling it, but does he have the touch and control necessary to compete, not just compete, but win at this next level?
And there are times you see where prior to or somewhere surrounding one of those awe-inspiring deep balls where you're like, dime. If you watch the game, you're like, that was not a dime on the play before. That was not a very good throw. And I always say this.
And it was it's 3rd and 9 because of, 2 missed passes or whatever.
And that's the balance. Like the game is about, we always fixate on ceilings and upside. And like consistency is a huge part of being a quarterback in the NFL. Like consistently playing at a good level to great level. And I know there's the gunslingers and game guys that, at the biggest of moments come up big, and that's huge. That can be the difference. But sometimes consistency is really, really key. And I'm just not sold that Penix is a consistent thrower of the football at the National Football League level. Now, I've said this a million times. You want to just do that old, what's that TV show where the guy flings out the lawn chair and sits down?
East side and eastbound and down. Yeah.
You want to eastbound and down somebody to watch them throw? Give me Penix all day long. Give me 6 Miller Lights, a little bucket of ice, and I'll watch him for a nice period of time. But I want to win football games. I want accuracy. I want the ability to manage a game in an offense, and I'm not sure he has all that.
And Mike, last week when we talked, Andy and I spoke with Brian Baldinger, and it was a great podcast. If you missed it, go back and check it out on the Six Rings feed. Baldy said he was his second quarterback of his rankings. He had Drake Maye ranked 4th of all the quarterbacks coming into the first round of this draft. Okay. And his thing about Penix, and you can go both ways with this, Yes, Michael Penix had 3 good receivers. Yes, he had a highly underrated offensive line. Yes, he had a really good head coach in Bloom, so good that the guy is now the head coach of Alabama since Nick Saban retired. But so was he the product of all of that over 2 years? But Baldinger pointed out that after he came back from the 4 seasons of injuries, he didn't hang him up or just go lay low somewhere. He went to a larger program, transferred to Washington, and as McMillan and Odunze and Polk were all ready to transfer out, he convinced them to stay and said, "Let's make something special here." And in 2 years, didn't miss
They
a
go to the
start.
Natty. Right.
Guy made it all the way to the Natty. All 3 of those guys are going to be drafted within the first 3 rounds of this coming draft as well. You'll have linemen taken in the first 2 rounds. DeBoer gets the Alabama job. Penix is now a first-round quarterback. I think he's got more winning spirit about him than people are giving him credit for.
So do I.
The spirit
And
is there. No.
Yeah.
Like, real quick, like the spirit is definitely there. It's the ability, because everybody has the spirit when they are a winner at some level. Like, and I always say, like, there's no shame in having a winning spirit as a high school guy who can't transition to the college level or can't transition to the pro level. And you're right, Fitzy. He deserves more props for that. I feel like JJ McCarthy gets all that spirit, intangibles, winning. Like, give Penix his share there too. That well said, Fitzgerald.
And like
a rarity.
I feel like this
compliment from Andy. Mark the tape. Jesus.
The 26-19 on April 20, and but McCarthy really took this massive jump right over the last, call it 3 months, 2 months of the draft season.
Because they won.
And into that top 4. But like Michael Penix was pretty much always above him until this latest push of intangibles and off-platform throwing, I guess, and then really good interviews. And we all just kind of took it. And like, I remember I saw it, me and Andy in real time, both were kind of just like, okay, yeah, maybe we do like JJ McCarthy over Michael Penix. But it was pretty close. And all of a sudden now it's just gospel. And it's like, I still don't 100% buy it. I like Michael Penix. I think he can play. I like the fact that, you just talked about it, Fitzy, the thing he wrote for the Players Tribune, that he was like, no, yes, I've been hurt, but yes, I've came back from it. And yes, I'm here. And even though I'm 25, I still have a lot of football left in front of me. I've cleared my medicals. I showed that I can win games. I showed that I can.
He's got this. This is good. And he's also got this. And he's got 10.5-inch hands. And he ran a 4.46. And he can leap 37 inches in the air. And he can chuck the ball 75 yards. And we've talked about a million different guys that break down tape, and everyone trying to be like the next Orlovsky, right? It's been Kurt Benkert. It's this quarterback, that quarterback. Chase Daniel. I was unfamiliar with the fact that Chase Daniel, who made a mint as a backup in the NFL over a decade and a half. Oh, but to just have 1 or 2 of the zeros and decimals in his bank account for all the work he put in. He's doing a ton of work now for the 33rd team, NFL Network. He's doing breakdowns galore. His love affair for Michael Penix. He said he should be the first QB off the board, diagnoses a lot of the throws.
His play first?
Yes, he thinks he
like
absolutely needs to be. He's his favorite quarterback in this
Bears
draft.
should take him.
I think the discourse and the volatility of Michael Penix Jr. at this point might be larger than the JJ McCarthy discourse.
Right.
Some people think Penix is A1, like Johnny Manziel. And I'll take his opinion for what it's worth, but he's been doing some work too now with, I forget where he's doing stuff, but he's back on the media trail.
He's on the he's the host of the Behind the Circle K podcast. That's where he works back at the gas station.
Yeah, right. But no, he's high on Michael Penix too. But then other guys, and Andy mentioned it too, think of him as just a backup and can't really do it. So I don't know. It's gonna be hit or miss, and so is JJ McCarthy, and that's what this is all about. It's dart throws, but I'm starting to see that he has a lot more ceiling versus floor, even more so than JJ McCarthy does.
All right. So before we get to the back half of this podcast and in the Pat's Puri, we will lead off with our discussion of the purported and or alleged Jonathan Kraft involvement in the draft selections. Let me just run through Cadlex. You could also read this at weei.com, but in case you don't have a chance to, because you are very busy making up your own mock drafts or just living a normal human's life. In round 1, Mike in his final mock. And I know a lot of times you're not allowed to, as Andy pointed out earlier, you're not allowed to repeat picks. So that's why people keep changing things over. Here's a fresh mock. Here's Mike's final one. We'll see. Round 1, May, 3rd overall. His second pick, round 2, pick 34. The New England Patriots trade pick 34, the second pick of the second round, to the Eagles for wide receiver A.J. Brown, finally giving him
Bang.
the homecoming, the landing in Foxborough he so richly deserves and is wanted. His rationale, let's get nuts. And of course, you cited that Breer has said Philadelphia has been receiving calls about the receiver. Did we or did we not have rumored and or alleged, like, did any one of us here finally source out whether or not the Patriots did actually call
Breer
the
said
Eagles?
Breer had said it like 5 minutes after.
They definitely did.
Breer
Okay.
said that New England was one of the teams. He also said that Howie Roseman is laughing the calls off, but they're still listening. They're still taking them if the Patriots want them. And, AJ Brown is another one of those. I don't want to call him a diva, but kind of is sometimes happy, sometimes not where he is. He loves the Patriots.
Right.
If Philly wants to get rid of him, wants to take pick 34, why not? They could get desperate, right? Like, everyone says that this guy's not on the block, but then he ends up getting traded. I see the same thing with AJ Brown in Philly.
And we had one of those stupid social media alerts at some point where he, I don't know, scrubbed the Eagles, followed Patriots, blah, blah, blah.
And put up Tom Brady as his avatar.
Yeah. I mean,
and then he tweeted out, no, this is stupid. This is nonsense. I just love Tom Brady. Stop reading into it. And then he deleted the tweet.
Then he deleted that as well.
Yeah.
So he tried to cover up with a tweet, and then he deleted the cover-up tweet or the rationale tweet as well. Just
bring him home.
Social media. Everyone just shut up. Just like, everyone just stop saying things and just let the draft come to all of us.
But that said, we'd all take it, correct?
100%.
Okay, but all right.
Excuse me.
Let me ask you,
What?
between trading pick 2 for AJ Brown or drafting someone who could have AJ Brown upside, in like a Xavier Legette, which one would you go?
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
Been there, done that, can do it, will do it, loves you, wants to. Yes.
Okay.
Binky for the quarterback right away, proven veteron. LA Wolf talked about backside X
That's
receiver
your Steph Diggs. There you go. That's a good point. That's your Steph Diggs for this Josh Wilson, Josh Allen. Yep.
Tyreek Hill for Tua, AJ Brown for Jalen Hurts a few years ago.
There's no saying
for CJ Stroud now.
There's no saying you can't also draft a wide receiver. Xavier Legette might be available atop the 3rd round, so you may have AJ Brown and Xavier Legette and Okorafor playing left tackle.
And a dead quarterback. Your boy Andy, that's the end of his wide receivers all the way to the 7th round. In round 2, Mike also has the Patriots trading up for offensive tackle Patrick Paul in a trade with the Giants. That could give you a mountain of humanity, which could
you down with PPP?
Oh boy, yes, you know me. Round 4, pick 103, Kyrie Jackson, cornerback out of Oregon. I think that's a smart move. I also like the kid out of Notre Dame. If he's still available at that point, could go a little bit earlier. Then there's a trade down. The Patriots send 180 to New Orleans for 190 and 239. Love this pick. If he's still around at 190, Dylan Laub, the running back hybrid receiver dude out of UNH, I think that would be a great Pats pick.
Might not fall that far, but the running backs in this class kind of stink, so who knows?
I'm disappointed in you, Cadlick.
Yeah, we did this on our
You're like serving up the masses here. Like you're giving those people what they want.
A lot of clicks, baby.
193, we go with tight end Tanner McLaughlin out of Arizona. And then in the round 7, the final 2 picks, pick 231, should he last that long. One of the all-name selections in this draft, wide receiver Bub Means out of Pittsburgh, 6'1", 212. Not the fastest guy, but he's a competitor for the football as well. And again, who doesn't love them a little Bub Means? And finally, I like this
pick.
What's that?
Edelman will love that pick.
I think
Bubs.
Oh, there you go. Well done, Andy.
Also worked with Tyquan Underwood rather at Pitt.
Okay. I was going to say if he worked with Tyquan Thornton, he's immediately off.
Cross him off the list.
Oh, sorry. Tyquan Underwood.
That's a smart. See, I bet he's going to sell him in the room. Good job. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually go for him around earlier in that case. And finally, Mike's last pick, 239, Joshua Carty, kicker out of Stanford. I like it. You want to know why? Because Chad Ryland needs competition, because I don't know if Chad Ryland got it. And also, I don't want this administration. I think we can all agree. I don't want this administration beholden to regime, whatever you want to call it, Andy. This iteration of the Patriots coaching, executive capacities, whatever. I don't want this regime beholden to any previous draft picks. Like, oh, well, they spent a 4 on him last year. All right, that's not my problem. If I have to pull this part out, if I want a different dining room table, if I want the living room a different color, damn it, I'll paint it a different color, even if that sets us back a pick.
And based on something that the adept ear of Mike Kadlick picked up in the pre-draft press conference from Elliot Wolf, I'm not sure they are beholden to past picks and or mistakes, because in Elliot Wolf's overzealous positive description of his offensive line, there was something that was seriously lacking, and that was 2 words: Cole and Strange. He talked about the tackles and Andrews and the rookies from last year, made no mention of Cole Strange, a pick that many of us hated the time it was made. Many of us still kind of hate the pick. And so to, sort of prove your example, I'm not sure Cole Strange is necessarily standing on the same footing he once did in New England.
That's a very good. If they're like, no, I don't think this guy, he doesn't fit what we're going to try to do. Maybe he competes for. Why not make him a tight end?
Like, half serious here. He's a big athletic dude. Let's make him the fullback. What's his name in Baltimore? Is 315? Ricard.
Yeah.
Why don't we make Cole Strange a fullback? And then
Andy, can I tell you straight up?
You're going to tell me you put him in front of Ramondre Stevenson, you don't have a freaking train moving?
You bring your boy James Devlin up to work with him for 3 weeks, coming off of the ACL, no less. I will say this. So last year, I was at the stadium and I hosted a little watch party for the season ticket holders of the Patriots-Raiders game. Oh, good times. Devontae Parker. Did it hit your thumbs? Went off your fingertips. I forgot. That's right.
Just the tip.
Just the tips, just to see how it feels. And Cole Strange was our current player guest because he was rehabbing a different injury at the time. He stepped up on stage. Just same height as me, like not much bigger than me, just like he had 100 pounds on me. That's it. Like he's not, I didn't see this guy and just think like Line Haas. You know what I mean? Like Shaq
like
Mason.
Logan
Oh, geez. Trent Brown. Oh, gee. Like Cole Strange, like, oh, that's your big buddy.
Yeah. Right. Perfect fullback.
There we go. There you go, folks. All right. There is your first half of today's Six Rings podcast, our final mock draft edition. Do you like our rationale for the quarterbacks? Do you like Mike's mock? Anything else, you can always holler at us. He's at Mike Kadlick. I'm at Fizzy GFY, and he is Jumbo Hart. Stick around for a little Pat's Paris, where we will cover everything else circulating around the wide world of Pat's Nation 2 days before the draft. And, of course, the 6 to midnight Rich Keefe Show Draft Spectacular with Kadlick, Hart, a little splash of me, Keefe on the comm, and, of course, Chris Scheim talking about how sexy he looks now that he lost all that weight from Awaken 180. All right. Pat's Paris it up, yo. Here we go. The back half of today's Six Rings and Football Things podcast. Let's get right to it. We mentioned earlier in the first half, talking quarterbacks in the final mock draft, the Diana Rossini tweet. Forget about the Patriots listening to and or taking calls from number 3. We've heard they have. We heard they haven't. Be that as it, Drake Maye. The second half is what really set a fire ablaze Monday in Pat's Nation. While Elliot Wolf is running point, I'm told Patriots president Jonathan Kraft is heavily involved in the decision-making. Yikes. Yikers Island. Oh, boy. Yeah. No bueno. Now, our pal Nick Cattles tweeted out last night, per Diana Rossini's report about Jonathan Kraft being, quote, heavily involved. Both Tom Curran and Phil Perry said on Early Edition Monday, ownership wants to be, quote, in the loop, but won't make the final call. Also, there has yet to be an offer worth truly considering. What have you heard, Andy?
Well, definitely the same thing about an offer worth truly considering has not manifested yet. Some pot shots at maybe some new people who are in GM positions or positions sort of to make trades. I've heard about sort of the style, and the league needs more deal makers. And there's not enough of those right now, and sort of a new regimes across the league in some places. And then in terms of the Kraft level stuff, I mean, they've been quite open on the record that they're staying out of football decisions, right? That they are sort of doing business the way it's always been done. I've been told the same thing. The only change I've heard is that they are asking more questions than they did of Belichick at certain times, which makes sense because Belichick earned a certain degree of latitude, right? Like with his wins and his success, right? Like he earned that right. And guess what? In 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, Elliot Wolf might earn that right along the way with what he does, and the proof is in the pudding. But I've been told it's really that is just not true. That is just flat out not true. Now, maybe they're all lying, and maybe Jonathan is the puppet master and pulling all these strings behind the scenes. But I think the football people, Wolf and Mayo, are being given the latitude to do what football thinks is right.
So you're talking about maybe a little more helicopter parenting than Geppettoing, if you will.
Yeah, just
Okay.
and I isn't that like expected?
It is
I
their
mean,
team.
It is their team. Yeah, I mean, it is their,
it's
and
their
it's also a
team
new,
under new youthful leadership. Like
right.
you have no track record of these guys making decisions, the work they do. I think in any business, any world, like until you see that people below you do the job the right way,
Mm-hmm.
you have questions. You observe. Doesn't mean you tell them what to do. You may even like, I wouldn't have done it that way, but it's an interesting angle. Let's see if this works, and then go from there. But this idea that Jonathan is heavily involved, I just have heard no wind of it publicly or privately. And until I have reason to doubt this, I'm going to believe what people are telling me.
This is now the second instance, though, with a Jonathan Kraft football operations report, right? Because we had and we talked about it last week, Andy, with the Wickersham stuff about when has Seth Wickersham really been wrong? Like everyone thinks he's.
Now we have conflicting. When has Seth Wickersham been wrong? And how often is Rossini right?
That's true. I know. I was going to get to that too, because it's okay. When has Wickersham been wrong? Everyone hates him. Everyone thinks he's Wickerscam. But when you look back at all the, the deep dives he's done, they've been pretty much correct. He does have his journalistic and, creative writing spin on it. But at the end of the day, it's really true. He also mentioned Jonathan Kraft, Robin Glazer being, having hands-on in football. Now Rossini has this. So that's two sort of flares of smoke. But it could also be something they hear and then turn it into something it's not, right? Because we had the Rossini thing with Mike Vrabel and how he came in and was really scary and fought people off.
He's too big.
And then she sort of had to talk that back after putting that out there and blowing it into something it wasn't. So you got to kind of take it for what it is with both Wickersham and Rossini. But I do think two flares, if there's smoke, there could be fire. But they could also just hear, like you said, that they are asking more questions because it's a new regime and they don't want to just completely hand the reins over. They want to make sure that things are going, in a sense, the way they want them to.
It could be a supervising capacity, Andy. Go ahead, please.
Well, and it always has been. And, even the idea that Robert revealed Bill didn't have full power until after the third Super Bowl, where I think some people, including myself, thought there was a little more yoke before that. That was interesting. And they've always had high-level, low number of attendees meetings that were like Robert, Jonathan, Bill, and only a couple other people. And so they are in that inner circle, like that high-level planning always have been. And that was before they had the number 3 pick in the draft. Like, we talked about it. There's billions of dollars on the line here. Billions of dollars. So that's why I've never understood this pushback against, Josh Harris is in the meeting room. I don't care. He owns the goddamn team.
He's managing his asset as well.
Right. Now, if Adam Peters writes down Jaden Daniels on a card and Josh goes, give me that, and crosses it out and puts something else, okay, now we get an issue. Now we get problems.
But you could get also into the Tepper-verse, if you will, where like he forces Frank Reich's hand. And it's funny, Houston actually wanted Bryce Young, and it sounds like Frank Reich in his first and only year, didn't even make it through the whole damn year, wanted Bryce Young. Imagine the sliding doors, flip that, reverse it world we could be living in, like total upside down Alice in Wonderland routine that would go with those two teams. So you don't want to be so heavy-handed and so didactic that you tell them like, no, this is it. Well, then why am I here in the first place? Am I just preparing a bunch of TPS reports and draft analysis for you? Or you were going to actually let me chime in.
Patriots in trouble. This was what Belichick reportedly did so often over the years at the next level down, like scouts. Those people are putting together grades and lists. And
he ignored them. That's right.
And he's like, I know you gave him a grade. I'm crossing it out and putting my own grade. I know you think this guy's better. I'm taking the guy I want. That's how you
with Herm Edwards, N'Keal Harry. Come here.
Yeah, and the other guy that coached him out there as well. I just want to also add, for contextual purposes, our pal Andrew Callahan put out yesterday, if Jonathan Kraft is indeed heavily involved, the Patriots have major explaining to do. Robert Kraft, quote, January 17th, Jonathan's not involved in the day-to-day operations. Robert Kraft, also on January 17th, ownership's input will be the same input that we've had for the last 3 decades. Elliot Wolf, February 27th, ultimately, football making decision comes down to Gerard and I. Gerard Mayo, March 25th, they, meaning ownership, don't want to be involved in football decisions. And finally, Doug Kyde adds to that, Robert Kraft on March 26th. In the end, I'll let the team make the decision with what they think is best. Now that could be potentially nebulous because who's the team?
Well, but also like this idea that it's some Wizard of Oz behind the curtain thing. Robert's also been very open. Somehow, some way, at the end of the day, I'd like to see us get a quarterback. Like he said that publicly, I think multiple times.
They're taking one at some point. It's just a matter of who and when.
So if they're behind the scenes saying the same thing, is that some like dark secret puppeteering? Like he said it publicly in front of reporters. They want a damn quarterback. We all want a damn quarterback. They need a damn quarterback. So like there's just a lot here. And the reality is, I think there are some people that don't like Jonathan Kraft. He can be abrasive. He can be bombastic. He can be incendiary. Like there's a
controversial take.
And I think some of that feeds into some of these reports and some of these quotes and comments and sourcings and different things. And the reality is right now, the Kraft name is a little bit marred by the dynasty and things that are going on. So then you're getting clicks and you're getting clicks. That's going to get read and reported. And so I just, until I have reason to either not believe what the Krafts are saying publicly, Jonathan Gerard is saying publicly and Wolf saying, and what people are telling me behind the scenes, until I have reason to believe that they're lying to me, I'm going to believe what they have to say. Just like Seth Wickersham and reporters. Like Seth Wickersham has earned the right that I believe what he has to say. Diana Rossini has not. She's wrong too often. Sorry.
That's what happens when you tell everyone that the Patriots love Jarrett Stidham. That's what happens.
Not even love him. Love.
Speaking of Jarrett Stidham, how about that new quarterback room in Denver where they got those new fancy uniforms and a piece of branded content with the Ford Motor Company? Oh, it's awful. I love the old Elway level throwbacks that they'll bring back, but the new uniforms are terrible.
I don't hate the new uniforms. All right.
I just muted Mike Cadlick for a second. I just sent him to timeout corner. Nope, that's terrible. Yep, he's actually out of the video feed now. He's in the background in black and white, just going like, "You gonna do that to me?" Yeah, I can because I still control. Mike, all right, here we go. I'll bring him back into the podcast now. Mike, you actually like those?
They're not that bad.
They're terrible.
They're not that bad.
I think everything. He likes everything.
Everybody hates every new uniform now. I think everyone just hates them now just to hate them because they want all the
people love the throwback stuff. Jags. They like the new alts for the Detroit Lions.
Stuff. Yeah, no, that's a good point. They do actually like the alts.
Those are nice and clean. I like
Cadlick. What do you hate?
Oh man, broccoli cheddar soup.
That is specific.
That is so highly specific. When's the last time you even went to the store and you're like, oh, I got to get it. It's a cold, rainy day. I need a soup. Oh, broccoli cheddar again.
It's disgusting. It smells awful. It smells up a whole room. Broccoli stinks. I like cheese, but the cheddar, it's just disgusting.
Broccoli's so good for you. You're so 25. Oh, God bless you.
I love broccoli, but
I eat it every day.
I just think, and this is admirable. I wish I was a little bit more like this, and I wish a lot more people on Twitter were like this. Like, you react positively to most things. And I know I paint it as a Homer Patriots thing. I don't think it's just a Homer Patriots thing. I think in general, you err on the side of liking something as opposed to disliking it. Whereas most of the world errs on the side, especially on social media, errs on the side of criticism.
Yeah, but we also know too many old grumpy people.
People just love to be mad. So I take the opposite approach. It's like, well, until you give me reason to actually be upset about something, let's just look at it as a cool new uniform. I like the 5280. A shout out to Mile High. People are mad about the sleeve. It's like it's just supposed to look like a mountain. Like the elevation stuff, the triangles. Everyone's like, why are there triangles in the numbers? It's like, just let it happen, people. Everyone just gets so upset.
I appreciate all of the aesthetics, the touches, the flourishes. I just don't like them as much. I don't particularly like the Broncos uniforms of the last 20 years either. I do love their throwbacks like the big D with the horse steaming like that, all of that. Andy, the D on the side of the helmet. Stop it.
Like
Stop it.
D?
Stop it.
He likes the horse D.
God, what are we doing?
You said it, not me.
What are we
did
doing?
say it.
I like the Elway era uniforms. Okay, put it that way.
Everybody does.
Yes,
and just
everyone does.
Put Mike Cadlick's liking of the uniform.
Even ready for this. We're supposed to be talking about Zach Wilson being traded to the Broncos, for God's sakes.
Cadlick liked Juju Smith-Schuster and Mike Gesicki too. So just,
Thank you.
He did.
Thank you. Did you? Oh,
That is
wow.
true.
That's quite that much like Juju's Snapchat is very revealing, Andy. Good job on that one.
You like that
Good
big
point,
D
Mike.
too?
Jeez Louise. What are we doing?
Zach Wilson, huh? Zach Wilson's
Oh,
the
yeah, Zach
Bronco,
Wilson.
baby.
You know who I feel bad
Red
for?
Sox.
Of Denver, watch out, Zach Wilson. What is it? Also, by the way, every quarterback from 2021 gets traded for a 6th or 7th round pick. How bad was that
Awful
class?
draft class.
They stink.
Woo.
They all stink, and they've shown their stink. I feel bad for Jarrett Stidham, who I've always kind of liked, and
He's going to
he's
lose
like
a job
Susan
to
Lucci.
Wilson or DiNucci. Oh, speaking of Lucci, he's out there competing with DiNucci.
Like everybody raved about his throwing of the football. I remember Jim Nagy and everything, and he can sling it, but he's had so many places with so many opportunities, and it's like everybody tries to replace him or pass him up or find another guy in a league where everyone gets a chance. Poor Jarrett Stidham, because they might draft a quarterback too.
They're definitely going to draft a quarterback too.
So
DiNucci's
But where do they go?
Do
they come up? Do they trade up? Are the Broncos interested in trying to trade up for McCarthy or even Bo Nix, trying to fancy him into a mile-high version of Drew Brees? Or do they wait for like a Spencer Rattler or something?
I could see Bo Nix being their guy. I could see Bo Nix being, he doesn't have the greatest of arms. He throws a lot of short passes. He tries to win with accuracy. He's more athletic than Drew Brees, but in my head, I'm kind of doing the Drew Brees comparison. Now, the one issue there is there's a difference between playing all your games in a nice dome in the Southeast and playing your games in Denver, where
At
it
altitude.
can be 90 on January, whatever, and then a week later it can be snow covered and blowing like hell. So
they do get 300 days of sunshine, so there's a reason why the disposition out there is largely positive. Maybe that's where you should live, Mike.
Reading way too into to mock drafts too, which I also tend to do, among other things, including being positive about just about everything. For when there's like such a consensus on one player on a certain pick, I feel like it tends to be right. At least I've seen this with. We talked about it a few weeks ago, Andy, like the Steelers, right? The Steelers picked 20 and 25 2 years in a row. Every single mock draft had them taking Najee Harris, and every single mock draft had them taking Kenny Pickett. They didn't trade up. They just sat there. Those players fell to them, and it was the right fit. I see that with Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. Every single mock draft, basically, I've seen has Denver sitting there and just taking the quarterback that falls to them in Bo Nix. Something tells me somebody knows that they have a love for Bo Nix. Sean Payton works pretty well with quarterbacks that aren't named Russell Wilson, and he's just going to bring him there and be able to fit him into his offense. Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, Ben DiNucci, it doesn't matter when you draft the first-round quarterback. Those guys are all susceptible to being cut. So I do think Bo Nix is probably the pick at number 12 to Denver.
And I think you would have to put a hell of a lot more respect on the name of Sean Payton if he not only picks Bo Nix and he wins the job, but he has to beat out a resurgent Zach Wilson. If he's able to actually get something out of Zach Wilson and make him look like a half decent pro prospect, then damn, Sean Payton, good on you.
I didn't double check this, so I'm just telling you, I'm assuming it's right. I don't know if you guys saw this making the rounds on Twitter last night, but that Zach Wilson's first 3 years numbers are actually better than Drew Brees' first 3 years numbers in San Diego. And I was like, really? That is eye-openingly strange of a comparison.
Hold on.
And, maybe that's what Sean Payton is seeing. Like, I took Drew Brees after he was done in San Diego and I turned him into a 5,000-yard passing machine. And
what if they don't, Mike, just real quick, what if they don't take, it's a good dovetailing off Andy's point here. If this is true, what if they don't take Bo Nix at 12, figuring, you know what, I'm going to take a shot. I'll get back in the quarterback market next year, or I'll take a late round flyer on somebody. What if they just get maybe not a really good cornerback? Maybe they just grab a big bad, what if Fashanu's there at 12? They're like, oh, smokes. We can just get a potential pro, all pro level tackle. And we're going to see if we can rehabilitate Zach Wilson. Andy, I'm looking at this. Yeah, Drew Brees sucked the first 3 years in San Diego.
So
he was not
interesting. And along those lines, if Sean Payton sees a reclamation project, could he have an insurance policy in a quarterback in the state of Colorado that seems to indicate he is going to decide exactly where he goes next year? Could he have an inside track to Shedeur Sanders if Zach Wilson doesn't work out?
Yes, dude. This is Andy. He played one game his rookie season. Then in 2002, Drew Brees played all 16 games, played only 11 in 2003. Never had a completion percentage above 60, 60.8. 2002, 17 touchdowns, 16 picks. 2003, 11 touchdowns, 15 picks. Massive leap in year 4. In 2004, he goes 11-4, 65.5% completion percentage, 3,200 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 7 picks. So you're right. This could very well be no. I'm going to take this distressed gem. I'm going to bring him out here. I'm going to buff him up, work it real good. And I may actually turn him into. Ooh,
I don't hate that.
That would be fun. I'm going to miss being having a. Yeah, he sucks. Let's be honest.
I know. Here we go. I really like
Drew Brees had this. Now back to the JJ
right?
McCarthy. Like Drew Brees had this. Drew Brees had the heart. What does Zach Wilson? How much does Zach Wilson care? Maybe Bo Nix.
He has that really cool pro day throw.
Yeah,
he still has that in his arsenal.
Jesus. Awesome. All right, we're almost near an hour, guys. We got to wrap this up. The Chiefs have extended their president, their general manager, and their coach. That's what you do when you draft well and win. Hopefully, we'll actually get back to that point at some time. And Mike Kadlick, you strike me as the only guy in the world who may actually know who the hell Mitchell Wilcox is.
Frankly, not really. I saw Reese said he had them in. He's another.
He signed.
Yeah, he's signed. He's a camp body. He's a tight end who can block, who can not really catch the ball. I don't see it. They're probably going to draft a tight end.
Why'd we let Pharaoh Brown go if we're going to sign Mitchell Wilcox?
Well, because Pharaoh Brown probably I think he definitely costs more, has more upside, and they don't, they went with Austin Hooper instead. I don't see Mitchell Wilcox being on the 53-man roster at all. But
wow, we found something that Kadlick doesn't like. Apparently it's Wilcox.
It's Mitchell Wilcox and broccoli cheddar soup. Those are the two things I can't stand in this world.
Poor Mitchell Wilcox.
What did he do to you? That
I'm sure he's a great guy.
He's got a family.
I just don't see him making the roster. I'm sorry.
I'm sure he enjoys a Friday night pizza party as much as the next tight end that can't catch a friggin' ball. All right, and there you go. Just like we promised, a nice, tight, short, quick edition of 6. Just when you haven't been able to hear enough football talk leading up to the NFL Draft 2024. Once again, everybody, he is at Mike Kadlick. The other guy over there, that's at Jumbo Hart. The maniac, the leader of the hashtag Take Drake movement. And of course, I am the Penix party guy. I'll see you down the stadium on Thursday night. If you're a season ticket member, your old pal, Nick Fitzy-Stevens. Don't forget 6 to midnight Thursday on WEEI, the Odyssey app, and everywhere awesome football and sports talk can be found. The Rich Keefe Show, 6 to midnight, Draft Spectacular with Kadlick, with Hart, with Shime, with Keefe, and me chiming in from the stadium as well. You are not going to want to miss it. The boys will have one more podcast for you, a one-off Wednesday tomorrow. Content and topic and title to be determined, but they've got time for that. What's it going to be?
Got to tune in to find out.
Yeah.
Oh, now that's called a big market tease right there, folks. Amateur hour be gone. The 6 Ring boys have done it once again. For Kadlick, for Hart, for everyone involved, we thank everyone at WEEI, Odyssey, and 2400 Sports for having us, just like we do you. Smashing that subscribe button and tell your friends the best Patriots talk in town is found at 6 Rings. Have a great day, everyone. Happy draft season. And as always, God bless, and let's go Pats.